A brief synopsis of Christian 21's Information and Revelations for the Great Awakening Part 1 by Leon George. Sinclair, meme title Belief Brief, was intentional. When you align yourself, deeds, intentions, and empathy as the initial desire, as every single situation automatically as if you were reaching out to grab a handrail, then gradually over time, if this is amalgamated and inhibited and mind-wiped at death, the rebirth process of the natural progression, human or ET, will yearn towards perfection at all times as a byproduct. The species will quickly evolve towards a spiritually significant relationship with the natural themselves inhabiting, and evolutionary steps will come as swimming certificates at primary school. Think about it. You are brand new, just been woven into existence by two beings who love you more than they love themselves. They are hoary with age and the most loving beings in existence. You are brand new. You ain't stupid like you are here. You are a brand new soul primed as a perfect flower, a flower which is part of a larger ecosystem, one petal on the lotus flower of life. As you comprehend and display understanding, knowledge, and wisdom, the ether reacts to you individually on an individual basis and as a collective species. But that's going to digress me like really a double futon, so we'll do the collective species bit later, if you don't mind. And bestows what you call here accolades merit, or gold stars for good work and good grades. This is where it comes from. The ether in the higher densities is so advanced, so advanced, that it automatically recognizes and facilitates your greatest desires. Based on your positive goals, your aspirations are radiated out. 1 Leon the Hidden Hand of Freemasonry, Part 1 TXP Leon the Hidden Hand of Freemasonry, Part 1 45526 1, 17 p.m. page 1. Received and set into motion with the fastest path to success manufactured in real time, instantly by the initial desires, pure and empathic intentions from the being with those objectives, casting out those intentions. This is how manifestation works. Complex real-time, automatic augmentation of the subatomic quantum field, a manifestation of physical objects in physical reality. If this is a big job, like creating a new crystal city that floats in the air, then you will be doing this manifestation at a crystalline healing temple, the size of the earth cathedrals, and larger, as seen in the images below. And you will not be alone. There will be several of you doing this in unity. In the lower densities, a healing temple will look at the cathedral on the left, figure 1 but harmonic dampening, the density suppression. Figure 2, mask the original structure. Figure 3, figure 2, figure 3. The important point here. Technology is not what you assumed based on what you were presented when you entered primary school or kindergarten. You have been purposefully misled by the same organization that orchestrated the reset and those before that. The technology used here in Realm 3 is entropic, meaning that its creation and usage will induce heat, its manufacture costly, and its use limited by wire. Wires get warm, contained gases expire, and fuses are required to regulate voltage and temperature build-up. This alone is not normal. The energy we use back home is completely self-regulating, cold and harmless. What you need to draw comes to you as you need to draw it. As your load increases, so does supply. Passive energetic systems regulate the flow like a heartbeat regulates the physical vessel's functions. Running uphill will require more oxygen, so the heart beats faster. A positive simulation with a free will matrix will always flourish quite quickly. When benevolent intent meets physical reality, it wants you to succeed in your goals and aspirations because you are adding great benefit to your species and realm, and everything else within your system. Your positivity alone acting as another solar panel, another battery, another node in the network of good, is all it takes, because the entourage effect of love and empathy over multiple nodes builds a resonance that transmutes as a symphony of fulfillment of utopian desire for all the participants within that particular realm, be that animal, vegetable, or mineral participants. A positive simulation aether is like breathable software. It exists as a coded framework external to your being, yet it moves through you as you move within it on the physical plane. It projects through your existence and is the actual threads that make up the canvas of experienced experience. Broken down into non-binary software, the aether ordains the physical matter around you and augments your desired benevolent additions at your request. The aether back home is sentient, it is non-biased, it knows you well, and it understands your benevolent intentions immediately. Manifestation back home is like curling gone out, it's second nature. Thought transmutes into intention. Sustained intention transmutes into sound. Sustained sound transmutes into light. An anchored light transmutes into physical matter. And if that harmonic luminosity is correctly anchored, it will remain. This is how physical matter is created by you, not by God. What you call here good luck is a daily, hourly, momentarily, and infinitesimal evident situation of perfection. Because you are doing your best at all times, the aether recognizes this, and your luck itself transmutes into physical manifestation of whatever you need, want, or desire. The "n" of luck fades away and becomes a misnomer created in third density to explain the unfortunate aspects of a parasitic class structure's byproduct of Satanism. It's all. The controllers of LG, Looking Glass, made sure that the simulation would not recognize your benevolence, and in fact they reversed the simulation's attributes to deal with positivity as a polar opposite of the natural configuration, orientated towards the enticement of negativity in return for positive deeds, actions, or thoughts, not as one would expect to draw in positivity. Again, the essential inversion of everything, and at all times. Blanketed by the frequency noise of modernity, radio waves, TV, cell phone towers, and Wi-Fi, radar and power cables networking the land, and ocean emitting EMFs. All these things contribute to dampening of the natural energetic Earth's energy grid. With the subduing of the planet's aether post-1728, brought the gradual disappearance of not just Tartarian architecture and advanced technology, but the actual software that powers it all. The aurora borealis, or the northern lights, is the physical manifestation of the prevalent energy held within the dome firmament. Christian explains it like the gases inside the back of an old TV before LCD TVs. For the last 8,000 plus years, what you refer to here as the northern lights, aurora borealis, was actually the physical manifestation of pain and suffering, illuminating the northern night sky as undulating colors, mostly green. The northern lights was active only when they needed to siphon off the stored loosh. A vacuum glass TV screen coated in sulfur, invented by a 14-year-old Amish boy after watching a plow in a field creating ruts in the soil as the horse pulled it. He apparently designed the cathode ray tube around this incredible vision. And considering the fact that when he invented TV technology, most of America didn't even have electricity, let alone the need for a TV. Most didn't have the luxury of a radio set, and they expect us to believe that a 14-year-old boy who was uneducated in any form of science created what the CIA would later patent themselves as a mind control device? Cathode ray tube. CRT is a specialized vacuum tube that generates a focused electron beam, which strikes a phosphor-coated screen to produce visible light. Primarily used in, or as older, televisions, computer monitors, and oscilloscopes. CRTs create images by scanning this beam across the screen, exciting the phosphor to glow. Google. This is done in a vacuum so that the beam can hit the screen without being diffused by air molecules. You will notice a CRT TV screen is curved at the back, just like the firmament dome is curved. This curvature is needed to form the arena of visual experience. The gas or aether is contained, as all gas must be, by a physical barrier. That barrier is the firmament. This is not the reason that man has not landed on the moon, because the moon is also situated inside of the firmament, not outside, but man has not landed on the moon, because what you see when you look up at the moon is not what you think. For a start, many have noticed that sometimes you can see a blue sky through the lunar surface during the daytime. This is because the lunar surface itself is actually a projection cast by the closest star, in physical terms, to the moon. As we discussed previously, 100 or so brief synopses ago, Christian smashed the Lucifer myth over 3 years ago in Colchester. He showed me the proof, and I saw it with my own eyes. It happened to be an ideal cold winter night to observe this phenomena. I'd never noticed it before, maybe because I never thought to look. We were discussing the moon at the time. It was in the evening after dark at some point. Christian said, "Hey Simon, let's go outside and see what it looks like tonight, see if we can even see it." I was pretty blown away, to be honest. It was a quarter moon, bright. I saw the light cone immediately, very, very faint, but it was still clearly visible. And it wasn't my eyes playing tricks on me, because I have pointed it out to others since, who have also now see it themselves. It's the reason that Lucifer was named the light bringer, because all throughout history you will notice that Lucifer has been associated with the bright morning star, which everyone knows is the planet Venus. Lucifer, the bright morning star, bore the light that is the lunar surface visible from down here onto the Death Star-like moon. The reason that sometimes it seems that the moon is see-through, that's because this is. When the Death Star-looking space station, that usually sits behind the holographic projection, is sometimes absent. It's moved elsewhere to collect loosh from other lands under their control. The parasites had 65 other worlds here partially enslaved, and every drop of loosh counted. Loosh is the low-frequency, low-vibrational energetic emanation that a being produces when it is in a negative emotional state. Pain, suffering, angst, grief, and cynicism. Just like we harvest is a better word, or benefit from, a word that I will use from now on instead. The positive energetic emanation from our population's satisfaction at such a utopian existence, with the turbocharge that the simulations either gets because children's extreme excitement at the thrill of fun and innocence. The parasites harvested the complete opposite of this, being loosh at Earth's population's discomfort, dissatisfaction, pain and suffering. That's just one of the reasons for ritual sacrifices, such as the Twin Towers attack on its own people, and the Titanic, for instance, that was also a sacrifice, as was the Hillsborough football disaster and all the World's Fair's fires. Those fires were also sacrifices. Loosh was generated from the citizens in every conceivable way, from arguments, traffic jams, road works, murder, fear of nonces, fear of Jack the Ripper, fear of war, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of viruses, war, famine, guilt. The people generated the loosh-rich emotion based off of their life circumstances and choices. The lunar surface is fake. It's projected onto the Death Star-looking space station that the parasites use for many reasons. It's a frequency station to control lunar cycles, which is merely code for frequencies to fuck you up, controlling human emotion, anxiety, lunatics, and also to harvest the prized loosh. This negative energy is emitted from the people, and as this energy is emitted, it is caught in flowing currents that are created as Masonic city center layouts. The interconnectability of the city center layouts such as London, New York, Chicago, everywhere else, the people live in the cities, in flats, in houses, in condos, in basements, in towers, generating loosh by their mere existence, diminished to a life of poverty and self-mistrust, self-hate in many cases. They exist, argue in a pocket of low vibration. They absorb negativity from television and social media, school, work, and the neighbors. They eat an acid and sugar-based diet for ease in their busy time-sensitive schedules. They breathe toxic air, eat toxic foods, and are mentally discombobulated, not actually knowing anything real, true, or fact-worthy, yet assuming they are the cat's whiskers. The people are walking loosh nodes on an inverted parasitic network designed to be an inverted schematic to what we previously utilized, as ourselves being nodes on the network of perfection, based on love and empathy, not mobile nodes being harvested for their pain and suffering. They invert everything. That's why it is now easy to look, because we now know where to look and what to. For follow the money and the symbolism, and you will be on the right path. Start off with who has the most money, then research who their friends are. You will be halfway there. The Masonic layout of structures, roads, paths, and motorways is all specifically to move this loosh energy about, stored in banks, which are buildings that Tartarians built for positive purposes and to utilize positive energy. The parasites inverted all this technology, using it to move and store loosh energy. This energy is then moved within the planet to the very bottom of the realm, where the roots of the most prominent, most fundamentally important, and gateway central spirit tree used to be. The rhizome, or root ball, is the heart of every natural plant, and therefore the heart of the actual spirit tree itself was then turned to stone and smashed to pieces. They show this destruction in plain sight in pub and belief systems. Shambhala, Northern Rock, Black Rock, Panama Pictures logo, Microsoft's Outlook background, Toblerone chocolate logo, etc. It's all the same place, a location on Hyperborea. Mount Meru is the magnetic North Pole. It's magnetic, not because it was turned to stone and is now magnetic rock, but because the spirit tree's purposes are electromagnetic in nature. It is the center of every realm's toroidal field, and the spirit tree here on Earth is the most important of all the spirit trees. Don't forget that these trees, also rivers, plants, animals, humans, weather, it's all spiritual technology. Trees and mountains close the circuits between etheric air and the ground. Water, specifically salt water, is an electrolyte, quartz rock, and other minerals display piezoelectric properties. Geometry acts as a waveguide with the unseen energies beyond our third density perceptions. Atmospheric pressure is augmented, ordained, and controlled. Electromagnetism is interfaced, and free and clean energy is the byproduct, if you are spiritually evolved enough to be bestowed. These understandings, harvestable with a plethora of techniques, to produce a safe and effective lull. Energy that heals, does not harm, and cannot kill you. Every so often, the Death Star space station moon would pull up behind the holographic topography of a projected Luna landscape, cast by the light of the bright morning star. Lucifer, planet Venus, and siphon off the loosh into the Death Star space station. Once there, this energy was used by demons as sustenance, and to power equipment, open portals to other realms and other parasitic energy needs. Don't forget that they can't use our portals as they are way too high frequency for a fourth density parasite. The Death Star on Star Wars looks like the way it does because that is what this moon space station actually looked like, with the parabolic dish indent on the side of it. That is exactly what this was used for, loosh harvesting. 7. The parasites are unable to use our portal travel system, or portals and stargates operate at UHF, ultra-high frequency, which would rip the parasites apart as they entered one, so they use negative VLF, ultra-low frequency, of loosh for their energetic portal systems. Backdropped by the projected images of space, given depth by star brightness, location by the Milky Way, animated by comets and falling stars. One's own mind does the rest, automatically filling in the gaps and painting over the chasms with the pigments of a meaningful education and a keen desire to understand and envisage alien worlds and other life that may exist out there in the depths of space. The simulations either can be understood as the etheric software, the interface code, or the non-tangible aspect to the spiritual technology that powers all realms, the gas inside an old TV, so to speak. Let's look at a horse as an example. A horse is a living creature. It eats, sleeps, and shits in a field, yet its vessel, the foal's vessel, though physically born to a female mare, also on the physical plane of existence, is birthed into a highly advanced multi-dimensional technology, a living, breathing product of successful copulation between a male and a female horse. The DNA starts unpacking and replicating after fertilization. The fetus grows as the data for the schematic of life for the DNA of a horse unfolds, based on the genetics of the horse's parental lineage, manufacturing the attributes of a horse as gestation proceeds. The foal is birthed into the holographic canvas on the physical plane, just as all other beings are created. The soul enters the vessel moments after birth, while the umbilical cord is still attached, preferably. In this instance, the only real thing about the horse or the rider is its soul. The vessel of all beings is not of value, all perishable, and has a best before date attached to it at creation, meaning that at some point in the distant future, it will perish, whereas the soul is eternal and indestructible. Considering that the Cabal owned LG, Looking Glass, for about 40,000 years, the odds were stacked against you. Just quickly, for newcomers, LG, Looking Glass, is the simulation's console that sets the parameters of the visual arena, the path of the sun, the angle of the moon, the color of the sky, the pressure in the sealed system, regulated by volcanoes, and the weather, but the parasite so augmented weather via HARP, High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. It is HARP that causes the feathering of the clouds after the chemtrail planes have sprayed. ALG, Looking Glass, is a physical console interface. It controls all realms parameters, from sky color to day-night cycles. But since the parasites came, LG is more like the image above. First, the chemtrails are sprayed in the air, figure 1. Then HARP feathers these singular trails into one blanket cloud, figure 2. LG controlled the movement of the overlays, their positions, day and nighttime cycles, and the weather. They employed so much advanced technology solely to keep your focus on the utterly pointless. But who could have had the power, the gumption, the reach, the finances, or the patience to even bother to attempt this bewildering enslavement? The custodians. These beings were once highly benevolent. They were our original partners here on Gateway 10. Their name comes from their role as caretakers of the entire gateway itself. They wanted more autonomy, more control. They wanted to go it alone in the experiment of physical life. So, on the sly, in a clandestine manner, they created some of the species below to help them enslave this planet. Line Figure 1, Figure 2 Anuk, Anunnaki, reptilian, Draco female hybrid. These species were all highly negative creations the custodians Draco-Anuk combined. The custodians were the original traders who created the other parasitic species to aid them in their grand plan. Below the parasite's own pyramid power structure, with the custodians at the top, the Alpha and Omicron chrome, Etamines from Draco-Anuk. Gray. These are the main parasitic species who were here carving the planet's rescores and sharing the adrenochrome harvest out between them. 10 reptilian examples through history concocted species made to assist the custodians. These are the monsters from your children's dreams. They were very real indeed, and not merely figments of a child's fertile imagination. Directly under these highly negative ET species, we have the world's royal families. The bloodline that becomes royal is for no other reason than these bloodlines' ancestors, way back a few thousand years ago, were the original sellout traders that made the entire enslavement possible in the first place. For their tradership and facilitation in deceiving their fellow species, they were rewarded with not only safety and security from all future resets, but they would get to live life far better in lavish castles and stately homes and have servants and maids. Anything that their hearts desired could become theirs at the motion of a hand signal. You will notice that the royal families are all very openly Freemasonic. Prince Philip was the Grand Master of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and the royal attachment to Freemasonry is no planetary secret. All royals are Freemasons. To be born into a bloodline family means that you will be introduced to Satanism and pedophilia at an early age, to normalize in the inhumane early on, so that the right emotions are given off at sacrifices. They can't have a load of shocked people at a sacrifice. It will ruin the demon's dining experience. So all bloodline members are hosted by a Draco reptilian, or a Vril, type 1 reptilian, or a demonic entity. From that moment onwards, the new host, royal member, is now completely controlled by the parasite. Their soul is still in the vessel, but it can only watch on helplessly, unable to have a voice, let alone orchestrate an action of prevention. Now this is the point where the crossover happens from the parasitic hosted ruling elite royals to the public level. 11 Avril, type 1 reptilian, enters through in a ceremony. A Vril reptilian is a 3-foot ugly gargoyle-looking thing. It has detachable brain and spinal cord located in a proboscis on its host. It ejects the minute parasitic larva into the host's hair duct, anus, nose, but most commonly eye socket because it is the closest, fastest route to the brain, which is where it needs to be to take over the vessel. That's why celebrities all have an eye at several points in their careers. After the ceremony, they reveal in plain sight to you celebrating their Vril status by covering one eye in the photo shoot. It's the left eye of Horus, right eye of Ra symbology. The public-level sellouts do not need to be hosted by a Vril, demonic entity, or a reptilian, but they do need to be controlled. All these people need to do is to climb the ladder of Freemasonry further and further down the ladder into the highest echelons of the cesspit of the craft of Freemasonry. Because as we've said many times, the heads of every single industry, every single field of research, every single government, local councils, NHS, finance, medieval, CAFCAS and social services, the police, all of the heads of all of these sectors on the entire planet, plus a lot more, all had to kill children to become a 33rd degree Freemason. This was the glue that held their corrupted system together. But, as the sands of time accumulate at the bottom of the hourglass of Freemasonry, a vacuum replaces the sand at the top of the glass. The Freemasonic vacuum in the ivory towers is now being felt in the lungs of those servants who operate within that vacuum. Even the narcoleptic public are starting to smell the aroma of freshly ground covfefe, evident by the horseshit excuses for where the top brasses of every single sector of modern society have disappeared to. They are starting to fall apart. People are starting to join dots at last. Too many people are asking questions. It was easier for the gatekeepers previously because 2+ years ago, long COVID was a semi-tangible condition in the minds of the sleepers, and few asked any questions. If they did inquire as to the prolonged absence of key figures, the reply was mostly maternity leave, long COVID, using up holiday time before the end of the year. Away on training. But people do not have 4 years of maternity leave or go on holiday for 4+ years. And don't forget that long COVID is itself COVID vaccine injury, and these people most certainly did not have a COVID jab. They all knew what was going on, of course they didn't have one. The orchestration of COVID was controlled from the top down, obviously, but the scale of the operation bewilders most people. They simply can't visualize how 12 etc., etc., etc. A clandestine political sect could possibly choreograph a planet-wide depopulation agenda right under their noses. They wouldn't do that because they need us to pay taxes. They did need you to pay taxes for a few hundred years, and now they don't need you to pay taxes anymore. You were supposed to have been killed off in 2016-17, 10 years ago. It was supposed to be the biggest festival of depravity that the universe had ever seen. It would have been their perfect party. They wouldn't need to hide behind shape-shifting exteriors anymore, as their plan would have been complete. They would be walking about in their natural form, four tall, angry-looking lizards and a few other ugly-looking monstrosities. The parasitic power base was taken out from the top down, starting with the cleansing of the custodial homeworlds, lands of the Greys, and the etamines from Draco. They were all attacked simultaneously by the GAA way back. These missions were completed about 20+ years ago. They were caught completely off guard. Don't forget that they have had at least 8,000 years of utter success. Everything these bastards wanted came to fruition. They haven't had a failure in 40,000-ish Earth years, and the last 8,000 years have been their inverted utopian dream come true. They had the gateway on lockdown for 8,000+ years. No one could move, and no one had enough power to mount an attack against them. They locked the Great Dome down and took away 50% of the energy capability by destroying the central spirit tree and the vast toroidal field that it generated. All the other worlds signed treaties to keep their civilizations away from sacrifice, and the parasites were well aware that a benevolent being will never renege on an oath or a treaty. It's not possible for that to happen, because to renege on anything will cause negative internal feelings. The person who reneged will automatically feel that they have failed. These feelings of negativity will grow self-doubt, guilt, grief, uncertainty. These feelings and emotions will grow like weeds in a garden. It will spread, and soon the whole realm will be sick. Don't forget that they stole 1,000 years from you after 1728. From Revelation 20-3, 7:10, Satan will be released from his prison after 1,000 years, the millennium. During this short season, he will deceive the nations, Gog and Magog, to gather them for a final battle against God's people before being permanently thrown into the lake of fire. But as we saw in a few synopses previously, the dates of Tartarian buildings were all changed after the last reset. We see letters being added before numerical dates, leading us to assume that a J is the number 1, and the same with the letter I. So we see J 760 or 840. These are not referring to what you assumed. These are not numerical interpretations. They are to refer something else. The date was, for instance, 760, but the J in front is not representing the number 1. So the awake under the impression that soon we will have 1,000 years of peace on earth after the devil is cast into the lake of fire. But the 1,000 years of peace on earth has already happened. That was Tartaria, the little season where the devil will be released for a short time. Some translations say short season. Well, that short season was from 1728 till to 2015. There was no devil, no 13. The top 5 tiers of the pyramid all got removed over the last 9+ years. Saturn, no Leviathan, etc. That's all bullshit. No gods, no ghosts. There was just highly negativity with demons pretending to be Lord Satan. Back home, you can't have one single person harboring negative emotion of any description. That's hard to visualize here in third density, but it is something that you will reacquaint yourselves with shortly. It's the reason that this had to end the way that it is ending, very slowly indeed. We are moving at the rate of the most dormant sleeper, for a reason. So the GAA, Galactic Ancestral Association, a 150+ highly advanced ET species who live on Gateway 10 with us, just over the ice wall, planned a moment to attack, and did. Big time. Destroyed all the parasites in their home worlds while they were all asleep. A bit like when Adolf Hitler turned up in Spain in 1939. The whole country was in bed on a siesta. Actually, let me digress while I'm thinking about it, only because it's important. Fucking siesta. Are you fucking serious? What a crock of shit that is. It's modern laziness, that's what it is. I understand from living there that in summer, it rarely goes below 40 degrees Celsius, and sometimes gets as high as 50 degrees Celsius. So working outside in the sun in these temperatures is debilitating. So they invented a siesta, 4 hours off from 1 to 5 p.m. every working day, which is great if you pick fruit, farm fields, or build houses. But the fuck do you think you are doing if you work in an office, shop, or factory? With air conditioning as standard, why do you need 4 hours off in the middle of the fucking day? Every day. Every day when normal people need to get shit done. And you're all in bed. You don't need that time off, do you? You're meant to be running businesses, not fucking sleeping. Maybe I should put the rent up? It may help motivation. Siesta is modernistically redundant, utterly pointless, and infuriating beyond description. It's the most pointless idea ever dreamed of. It's the same reason that fish don't have tits, 'cause that would be completely fucking pointless. After electricity was invented, no one needed a siesta unless they are working outside in the sun. Sorry, that's been bugging me for 52 years now. They wonder why Spain is skint. It's because everyone with a job is asleep when customers want to buy stuff. It's not rocket science, is it? Sorry, where was I? Yeah, back home. This is why the need for separation, because we can't have millions of people turn up back in the worlds where they originate from immediately following the EMF in a state of negativity, let alone a state of abject terror, shock, and confusion. In the Bible, separating wheat from chaff is a metaphor for divine judgment, where Jesus distinguishes true believers wheat from the unrighteous, calf, referenced in many verses. In Matthew 13:30, let both grow together until harvest, and at the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, first gather together, then tan them, bund them, and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Revelations 14:15-19, and another angel came out of the temple, crying out in a loud voice to the one seated on the cloud, swing your sickle and reap, because the time has come to harvest, for the crop of the earth is ripe. So the one seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. Then another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. This is why I don't understand the religious people who don't get it. Why not? Why don't you get it? You have been reading about it all your lives, and it actually arrives after a few thousand years, 14, of prophecy, and you don't see it for what it is? How is that impossible? Okay, in reality, it's not a few thousand years. Religion as you know it today is new. Jesus is a 14th century fabrication. Cesar Borgia is the public face of Jesus. He was the first cult leader, the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI, given to be raised by Cardinal Roderick Lankel I de Borgia. I think he was the Pope's brother. Or cousin? I forget. Don't matter. He was a warmongering child killer, basically. He had a military strategist, an inventor technical expert who used to design new weapons and war machines, a man by the name of Leonardo da Vinci, who was also a child-killing lunatic who raped children. Da Vinci was not an artist. He made sketches of war machines and weapons. He didn't paint anything, and he certainly did not paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling or any other works of art. All that fine art from these eras is all Tartarian artists' work, not child-killing Freemasons. But that is one of the things they do. They are parasites. They live off the dreams and aspirations of others. They feed on your energy, take your creations and call it their own, and they do this in all areas of life, culture, and society. Sir Christopher Wren, Sir no less, he killed children and had nothing whatsoever to do with building St. Paul's Cathedral, nothing. What we today know of as St. Paul's Cathedral was built about 600 to 800 years ago, long before Sir Christopher Wren's great-great-great-great-grandparents were even born. He was just a celebrated child killer given the false accolade of designing a famous London landmark. It's the same with everything. They have nonces working in schools, nonces opening civic centers, nonces running the council, nonces on TV with millions of fans, nonces reading the news, nonces running hospitals, nonces working at Kafkas and social services, nonces running the country, nonces everywhere, except where they tell you to look. The public has been informed that they are themselves all a bunch of complete nonces, and they all agreed, strangely doubting each other whilst they dropped the kids off at the Draco Future Planning Nonce Center school. So the verse in Revelations 14:15-19 that continued, swing your sickle and reap, because the time has come to harvest, for the crop of the earth is ripe. The sickle being referred to here is the electromagnetic wave that will sweep the planet twice, picking up all the resonating souls at the right frequency, leaving their vessels to pixelate, demolecularize. This is the science behind the separation of the wheat from the chaff in biblical terminology. Don't forget that there is nothing religious about this process, but they have to use in plain sight symbology, wording, and reveal just a pinch of truth hidden in silly stories created in the minds of gray ETs and given to the local druids or whatever sellouts they were using at the time to pen in the ink of the time on the correctly time-aged appropriate papyrus used locally to discovery. Site, ink chemistry exact because it was indeed created many, many years previously to bolster a bullshit story that they needed in the future. It's the same as we see with globe theory. But before I digress again, the crop of the earth are the resonating souls who now know the truth and have accepted that disgusting truth for what it is and gotten over it. Not only that, but they will be in a state of excitement and eager happiness when the moment comes, as opposed to terror, confusion, and anger. It's so simple, it really is. Happy to go home. Sad people get to stay here until they heal. 300+ years before they needed the globe prop, they got Nicolaus Copernicus to make a papier-mâché sphere and draw continents and oceans on it. They also got Piri Reis and the other cartographers, who all killed kids as well, to pre-create the continent of Antarctica, drawn faithfully from the plans that they had for a spherical Earth model. That's why Antarctica's coastal outline on the Piri Reis map is identical to modern maps' estimation of Antarctica, created using sonar and satellite images. Who owns these establishments and institutions, such as the National Geographical Society and other scientific bodies? Child killers, obviously. Look at their headquarters, it's always in Tartarian buildings. The people telling you that satellite images prove, well, these people killed children, or they are the unwitting mouthpieces of people above them who killed children. The Truman Show is in plain sight revelation, showing you. All the people on the stage are actors, paid actors who are aware that it is a stage, yet to you think this is life. You just needed to be distracted enough so that you didn't realize what was going on while cabaled you all about like chess pieces on a checkerboard. Now think of their black and white checkerboard floors and the police with the checkered band on their hats. You thought that you were trying your hardest to survive and get ahead in life, trying to do the right thing whilst creating a way to have a better quality of life, to have more time to pursue your interests and not be working for someone else. But you were a player in someone else's game. Just a game. 16 Nicolaus Copernicus was a total mug who killed and raped children. Figure 1, Piri Reis map. Figure 2, how it actually looks. Piri Reis map, showing how well it fits modern cartography. In Figure 1, Figure 2 shows the ice rings that they were so desperate to hide. You were a pawn. Your memories, your history, your provenance, the nostalgia of your past, your aspirations for the future, the actual floor that you are standing on, it's all fake, it's all mockery, it's all for nothing. Thousands of years wasted in deceit and mockery, all for you to assume a natural fakery as normality so that you never had spare time to think. You didn't know that your entire life was merely someone else's game, and you didn't know the rules. You simply existed in the Hunger Games whilst remaining oblivious, focused on what the future held, not what you now have. Artifacts that are discovered are put there to be found years later, centuries later in some cases. The Nag Hammadi Library, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Shroud of Turin, Göbekli Tepe. Most of the discoveries are staged in the past. Like when you drop sweets at a children's party, a trail of sweets that lead outside to the next discovery. We lap this bullshit right up because it comes from respected scientific establishments, famous people in their own right, leaders in their fields, trusted people with more degrees than a fucking circle. Yet they are all the paid actors in your own personal Hunger Games. These artifacts are all created specifically to be found after aging naturally in situ. Don't forget that 5,000 years for a parasite is nothing. They waited millions of years to take this world. A few thousand years of planning to make sure that their bullshit is believable by modern science was easy. The Piri Rice map is actually a great point to use here because it is something that normal people, the general public, have just heard of. I was researching the Piri Rice map in 1989 when I was 16, having acquainted myself with this oddity early on in my own personal interests. But the general public have only heard of this map recently, and to be perfectly honest, I'm quite confident that 99% of the public have still not heard of it. I have discussed this previously in prior synopses, but I'll recap this subject here briefly for newcomers because the Piri Rice map is being discussed on social media lately, and it is doing exactly what it was meant to do when they designed it. The Piri Rice map of 1513 shows the coastline of Antarctica, but no one has actually seen the coastline of Antarctica to map it because they inform us that Antarctica has been covered in up to 2 miles of ice and snow for the last 10,000 years. So who could have mapped the coastline so accurately? No one. Antarctica is not a continent, it's an ice ring. So no one mapped it. It's a fake map to make you believe the Earth is a globe for what's about to happen. Other fake maps that were created a few hundred years ago include the Orance Fine map of 1531, the Buache map of 1739, the Urbano Monti map of 1587, and the Mercator map of 1569. The Urbano Monti map of 1587 is particularly MAC because it remained relatively obscure in a private collection for centuries before being digitized and popularized in 2017. Like we saw with the 18,140 medieval manuscripts that hit the scene between 1840 and 18,000 books in pristine condition all arrived at the doors of universities, libraries, and other professional establishments, all in a 10-year window, and they all explained various aspects to the medieval period, otherwise known of as the Dark Ages. Well, that was Tartaria, making the medieval books all bullshit plants. Just lies to explain away 1,000 years of Tartarian supremacy, so that you never realized what you lost before the final reset that would have ended around 2019 to 2020. See Revelation 20-3, 7-10. 17. The fake Shroud of Turin created at some point in the past to be a useful prop in the future.